Okay, so today we're diving into something super important for well, pretty much anything you want to achieve, right? Whether it's finally getting a handle on that new language or getting in shape or finally getting started on that project you've been putting off.
Yeah, those passion projects that are just kind of sitting there.
Exactly.
We're talking about self-discipline.
Self-discipline, the key to it all.
And I think, this is something everybody struggles with, right? It's
Yeah.
that classic thing where you're like, okay, this is it. I'm doing it. And then, a couple days later, you're hitting the snooze button
Oh, yeah.
or you're like, I'll start tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, for sure. Tomorrow's the day.
Every day is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And even Aaron and Evan in the English Leap podcast, which is our source material for today's deep dive.
The English Leap podcast, yeah.
They were talking about how, they struggle with this too.
Yeah, they were really upfront about it.
Aaron was saying, she gets distracted from her goals really easily. And Evan was talking about, wanting to exercise more, but then just being like, the couch and Netflix are calling my name.
It's so relatable, isn't it? It's like we all have those moments.
Yeah, and so that kind of leads us to the mission of this deep dive.
Okay, so what are we doing here today?
What we're doing is we're going through that English Leap podcast session, and we're going to be pulling out really actionable, practical strategies for building self-discipline.
Not just like airy-fairy concepts, but stuff you can actually use.
Exactly. Things that you can implement today, right now, in your own life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Real world stuff.
Real world, applicable stuff we can use.
Yep. So we're going to be talking about things like starting with really tiny habits.
Tiny habits.
Like the smallest thing you can think of.
Okay.
Focusing on the systems you build.
Systems, not just goals.
Not just goals.
Got it.
Making those habits attractive so you actually want to do them.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Designing your environment for success so you're not constantly fighting against yourself.
Oh, I need that one.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Managing your willpower. Because, it's not unlimited.
No, definitely not unlimited.
Automating decisions so you're not constantly having to think about every little thing.
Oh, reducing that mental load.
Exactly. And leveraging accountability, getting people to support you and keep you on track.
Okay, so like a whole toolbox of strategies.
A little toolbox, yeah.
All right, where do we even begin with this? Building this self-discipline muscle, it sounds hard.
Well, the first thing that Aaron and Evan really emphasized was this idea of starting with habits that are so tiny, they're almost ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, because it might seem counterintuitive, right? Like, we want big changes.
Yeah, we want big results.
Big results fast.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you aim for these huge transformations right from the start,
you just set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, you get overwhelmed and you give up.
And that's the opposite of what we want.
Exactly. So the idea here is to trick your brain a little bit.
Oh, I like that.
Because when you achieve something, even if it's tiny, your brain releases dopamine.
Dopamine, the good stuff.
The feel-good chemical.
Yeah.
And that reinforces the behavior, so you're more likely to do it again.
So it's like positive reinforcement through tiny wins.
Exactly.
Okay, so like how tiny are we talking here? Give me an example.
Well, Evan was talking about how every year he'd make these huge New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah, we all do that.
Like, I'm going to work out for an hour every single day.
Or like give up sugar completely.
Yeah, complete overhauls.
Which never works.
And by, mid-January, he'd be burnt out, feeling like a failure.
Totally.
But then he realized that committing to just 5 minutes of exercise every day.
5 minutes, that's...
Yeah, just 5 minutes felt so much more manageable.
Yeah, you can't really say no to 5 minutes.
Exactly. And the key is that he was actually doing it.
Consistency, right.
Yeah, even in small doses.
Okay, so it's not about intensity, it's about consistency.
It's about building that momentum, building the habit.
I'm starting to see how this works.
And they even talked about James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Which is all about making the habit so tiny that you can't even find an excuse to skip it.
So small you can't fail.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, this applies to anything.
Anything?
Anything. So for language learning.
Okay, let's talk about language learning.
Instead of saying, I'm going to study for an hour every day.
Which I never do.
You could commit to just 5 minutes of reading.
5 minutes of reading? Okay, that's doable.
Or listening to a podcast.
Yeah, I can do that.
Or learning one new word.
That's like the tiniest thing.
Exactly. But the point is, you're doing it consistently, and that's what matters.
Consistency over intensity. Okay, I'm getting it.
And it doesn't feel like this big, overwhelming chore.
Yeah, it feels like a little part of your day.
Just a small, easy thing you do.
So we start small, super small. Got it.
Super small, yep.
Okay, so what's the next step?
The next step is focusing on the systems you build.
Systems, not just goals.
Not just goals, right?
You said that before, but I need to hear it again.
I know. It's important.
Yeah, it's a distinction.
Because goals give you direction.
They're like the destination.
The destination, but without a system.
We're just wandering around aimlessly.
You're lost. You don't know how to get there.
Okay, I get the analogy.
And Evan was admitting, he used to do this all the time.
Just setting goals with no plan?
Yeah, like he'd set a weight loss goal.
Okay, lose 10 pounds.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have a plan for how to actually do it.
So he'd start strong, then fizzle out?
Exactly, and he'd get discouraged because he wasn't seeing immediate results.
Because he had no system.
No system, no map, no nothing.
Got it.
So a system is basically the collection of those daily actions, those routines, that actually move you towards your goal.
So it's like the how-to guide, the step-by-step instructions.
Exactly, and Aaron gave a good example for language learning.
Oh, good, because I need that.
Instead of just saying, I want to improve my English,
Which I always say.
the system would be something like, I'm going to practice for 10 minutes every morning.
Okay, that's a system, specific and actionable.
Or I'm going to listen to an English podcast on my commute.
So it's not just a vague desire, it's a concrete plan.
It's the actual pathway to achieving the goal.
Okay, so the focus shifts from the outcome to the process.
As a process, yeah.
And once you have that process in place, it becomes more automatic,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. You're not relying on willpower anymore.
Because you have the system.
You have the system. It's just what you do.
It's like a habit. It's ingrained.
Exactly. Which means less mental friction, easier to stick to it long term.
It's like you're creating a path of least resistance toward your goal.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've got tiny habits, we've got systems.
What's next?
What's next? How do we keep ourselves motivated? Like genuinely motivated, not just forcing ourselves.
That's where making those habits attractive comes in.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that before. Make it fun.
Make it fun, yeah, because if you enjoy the process,
You're more likely to do it.
you're way more likely to stick with it.
So how do we do that? How do we make these habits attractive?
Well, Evan was talking about how he started finding ways to make his exercise routine more enjoyable.
Okay, example time.
So he would listen to his favorite music while he worked out,
Oh, that's a good one. I do that too.
or he'd watch funny videos while he was stretching.
So it's not just this painful, grueling thing.
It's actually something he looks forward to.
That's a shift in mindset.
And Erin connected this to language learning.
Okay, let's hear it.
She said, find ways to make your practice more engaging.
Like what? Give me some ideas.
Like watching TV shows in English that you actually find interesting.
Oh, so it doesn't feel like studying.
Exactly. Or setting up little rewards for yourself after a study session.
Like a little treat.
Yeah, like a piece of chocolate or something.
Okay, I like that.
It's like self-bribery.
But in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
It's tricking your brain into associating the habit with something positive.
Exactly. Because when you reward yourself, your brain releases dopamine.
Dopamine again, the feel-good chemical.
It's all about making the path towards your goals enjoyable.
So it's not just about effectiveness, it's about enjoyment.
It's about both. You need both.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So we're starting small, building systems, making it fun.
What else? There's got to be more.
There's more. The next thing is designing your environment for success.
Environment. Okay, what do you mean by that?
So our surroundings actually have a huge impact on our behavior.
Bigger than we realize.
Way bigger. And Evan was talking about how, having a messy desk
Oh, yeah, I'm guilty of that.
or keeping unhealthy snacks within reach.
Or having my phone right there, buzzing with notifications.
All of that can be a recipe for distraction and derail you from your goals.
It's like your environment is working against you.
Exactly. So Erin was talking about some things she does to combat this.
Okay, tell me. I need tips.
So she keeps her workout clothes laid out where she can see them.
So it's like a visual cue?
Yeah, it reminds her to exercise.
And she puts her unhealthy snacks away in a cupboard.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Makes sense.
It's about making the good behavior easy and the bad behavior harder.
So it's about reducing friction. Yeah.
Reducing friction, exactly.
And they also mention the people you surround yourself with.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like having supportive friends and family.
People who encourage your goals.
Yeah, unless your friends are the ones tempting you with unhealthy snacks.
Right. Well, there's always that.
But generally, having a supportive network makes a big difference.
It's an extra layer of motivation and accountability.
So environment is both physical and social.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay, so we've talked about setting ourselves up for success.
But what about willpower? Like, sometimes you just don't have it.
Oh, tell me about it. My willpower is non-existent some days.
Well, that's where managing your willpower comes in.
Because it's not unlimited, right?
It's not unlimited. It's like a muscle that gets tired.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
And they talked about how, by the end of the day,
You're just drained.
you're mentally exhausted, your willpower is depleted.
It's like a battery that's run down.
Exactly. And that's when you're most susceptible to temptation.
Like, I know I shouldn't have that extra cookie, but...
But your willpower's gone, so you give in.
Yep, that's me.
So the key is to prioritize your most important tasks for those times of day when you have the most energy.
So do the hard stuff when you're fresh.
Exactly. Because your willpower is strongest then.
So, like, for language learning, I should study in the morning when I'm alert.
Yeah, that's when you'll retain the information better.
Okay, and for exercise, I should probably work out before I get tired from work.
Right, because if you wait till the evening, you're more likely to skip it.
Yeah, that's so true.
And another thing they talked about was automating decisions.
Automating decisions. Okay, what does that mean?
So the more decisions you have to make throughout the day.
The more mental energy you use up.
Exactly. And you have less willpower left for the important stuff.
So it's about reducing that mental load.
Exactly. So the idea is to create routines and systems that take those decisions off your plate.
So like deciding what you're going to have for breakfast the night before?
Yeah, so you don't have to think about it in the morning.
Or scheduling your study time in your calendar so it's just a given.
Exactly. That way you're not using up willpower on those little things.
And you have more willpower for the big challenges.
Precisely.
Okay, so we're managing our willpower, we're automating decisions. What else?
The last thing they talked about was accountability.
Oh, yeah, accountability, like having someone to answer to.
Exactly. Because having someone to hold you accountable can make a huge difference.
It's like having an external motivator.
It's like having someone to check in on you to make sure you're doing what you said you would do.
And you don't want to let them down.
Exactly. So Evan was talking about having a workout buddy.
Okay, that's classic accountability.
Or even just a friend who would check in on his progress.
And that helped him stick to his routine.
Yeah, because he knew someone was paying attention.
So it's that external pressure, but in a positive way.
In a positive, supportive way.
Got it.
And for language learning, this could be a language exchange partner.
Oh, yeah, someone to practice with.
Or a study group.
Or even just telling a friend about your goal so they can encourage you.
It's all about having that extra layer of support.
So it's like a built-in cheering section.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to recap, we've covered a lot here.
A lot of ground.
We talked about starting with tiny habits, building systems, making those habits attractive, designing our environment for success, managing our willpower, automating decisions, and leveraging accountability.
That's quite a list.
There's a whole toolkit for building self-discipline.
Yeah, and remember, it's not about becoming a different person overnight.
It's a process, a journey.
And it's about being kind to yourself along the way.
So as you're thinking about your own goals, I want you to consider this. What's one tiny habit you could start implementing today?
Yeah, what's the smallest possible step you can take right now?
And think about one area of your life where you could make a small environmental change.
Something that would reduce friction and support your efforts.
Because building self-discipline is about those small, consistent actions.
It's about the little things adding up over time. So don't try to do everything at once.
Start small, be consistent, and be patient with yourself.
Yeah, that's the key.
Now, here's a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay, hit me with it.
How could understanding your own tendencies to procrastinate actually help you figure out what kind of environment and accountability would work best for you?
That's a good one, something to think about.
Yeah. Because we all have different strengths and weaknesses.
And knowing yourself is the first step to self-improvement.
Exactly.
So that's it for this deep dive on self-discipline.
Hope you found it helpful.
Yeah, lots of great takeaways. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing towards those goals.
Absolutely, you got this.